Getting to F1 is insanely expensive. You already know that. But what I'm going to tell you is that these prices are going up again this year and in 2026, and they'll keep doing it every single year. So if you thought it was expensive up to this point, you wait till I share these figures with you. Right, I'm going to get straight into this because you're here to find out how much it costs to get to F1. So without further ado, this is us talking about the normal route in Europe. So it's F4, Formula Regional, F3, F2, and then you get to go to F1 because you got to get the super license points, and these championships give you the most bang for your buck in terms of if you win, you get good super license points, and you need 40 to get an F1 license. These are the championships that give you the most. And it's where the F1 teams are watching. If you're racing in other championships, they don't know your level, but here we know this is where they're picking from. So let's get into the figures. First off, let's talk about F4. Formula 4 costs 500,000 euros. All these prices are in euros, by the way. 500,000-ish, depending on what championship of F4 you run in. It can cost double that if you do peripheral championships, like you do the UAE championship over the winter, and then you do loads of testing. Believe it or not, drivers get this 500 grand up to $1 million. They're spending €1 million on F4 now. Because you go to a top team, they say, right, you can sign up with us to do the championship. And you look at it, you go, that's not that much. You know, it is a lot, but it's affordable to someone who's got a lot of money. But then they add on all these other championships and loads of test days. Before you know it, you're at $1 million. So it depends what championship, but let's just say 500 as a safe ballpark. If you've got that, you go in racing. Next, we look at FRECA. Formula Regional is about 750, depending on the team you choose. 750k per year. Got it? Next. F3. Now we're talking. It's a whopping 1.25 million. Some teams are charging whatever people will pay. They're charging F2 prices, which I'll explain in a minute about how much that is. Nearly F2 prices to do F3 because they've got the fastest car and they know they can just name a price and there'll be people that sign up. So this is where it gets bonkers. So you have got the sort of ticket price and you go to a team, but it depends on if they've got sponsors themselves and they can offer you a cheaper deal. There's so many different variances, but if you think about it, 1.2, again, if you've got that, you're looking good for a seat. Then we get to F2. Formula 2 is now 2.3 mil. Now I've had drivers that have done it free of charge. I've had drivers that have paid over 2 mil. So it's such a wide swing, but you're here to understand how much it costs from a surface level before you've had deals, sponsors or anything else. And if we add all these up, it comes to 4.8 million. So little old you has got to gather up 4.8 million euro in order to do those 4 championships and get to Formula 1. And get this, you've got to be good. You've got to be winning. When you think about it like this, it's madness, right? Because you're not going to spend just 1 year in each championship. Thinking about the past, the most recent drivers I've been with that have gone to F1, Ollie Behrman took 5 years. Liam Lawson took 8 years. So they're racing longer in more championships than the ones I've just told you now. It's not just 4, it's 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's a lot more than 4.8 million. And that's difficult. To get that kind of money together, and you know the family can't afford it. They've had to go externally and get driver programs to help them and everything. It's not easy. And this is the hill or the mountain that people have to cross in order to get an F1 team to see them. So you look at this and you think 4.8, that's ridiculous. But let's just round it up because you've got coaches to pay for, you've got a trainer, personal trainer, you've got flights, hotel, accident damage. You wreck the car, someone's got to pay for it. Even if you've got insurance, you're paying all that stuff, right? The excess. It adds up. But let's just say 5 mil, right? If you do everything correct and you keep winning and you're getting all this attention, it's going to be around 5 mil that someone has to invest in you if you haven't got the money yourself. So when you look at that, you think, right, how can I bring that down? There's a few ways. First, you can go for alternative championships, not the mainstream ones. Like, I bring up the graph again. You got GB4, which is around about 350,000 euro. Then you can jump to GB3, I'll say that's about 700,000 euro. Then as Euro Formula, you could do that for 850k. And then Super Formula, which is a great car in Japan. What an amazing car. It's the closest thing we've got to F1 in terms of how it handles and everything else about it and its professionalism. That's 1 million. So if you look at that, already we brought our, let's keep it at 4.8. We've brought our 4.8 million down to 2.9 million euros. So we haven't far off halved it by just doing championships, again, that are not mainstream. But I tell you what, if you're rocking it in these championships, if you're winning all the time, you win all the championships, you will get the attention of F1. I know you haven't got as many eyeballs on these championships because you haven't got them in front of the crowds in F1. You haven't got the live coverage on Sky Sports and F1 TV and all this, but it is a bit cheaper. So if you're going the investment route where people invest in your career in order for a percentage of your future earnings, maybe you're going to think about doing this and then try and gather the support along the way, and you can join like an F2 or something like that. But honestly, that is a way of doing it. So you have different routes, and the other routes that are not quite as mainstream to start with, it's probably a good idea to do that. If you can't get with a top team in F4, then think about, right, I'm not going to be able to win with these teams that are at the back. Maybe I should do a secondary championship or an F4 championship in a different country and just dominate it. You can't substitute wins. If you're going mainstream but you're finishing 8th all the time, you're not going anywhere. If you go slightly off-piste to championships that are still good, series that are still respected, but you're winning them, at least you're interesting to someone. They'll say, I don't know what the level is, but he's winning. An F1 team will go, well, we'll test them. We'll put them on the simulator, see what they're like, and you never know. That could happen. And that happens a lot because now we're looking at all the drivers out there, and it's hard to spot the ones that are good because they're in top teams and things. But if you've got someone who hasn't got much money and they're over in the secondary championships, if you want to call them that, they're not as mainstream, but competition's still pretty good. Not as mainstream, but they're killing it over there. They're dominating and they're making a lot of noise. It won't be long until the F1 teams or junior programs start to knock at the door of that driver, your door, if you're doing this. So there are them ways. So that now we've halved it, right, ish, the price. You've got to now start to think about how we can take that money down even more. And the way that, again, 2 recent drivers that have got to F1 that I've been with have managed it is that early on, F3 kind of level, so they had to find funding up to that point, but F3 level, they've had F1 teams come in and help them pay the bill. Now, junior programs, there's some out there, some F1 teams, if they really believe in you and they know you've got no cash whatsoever, but up to that point you've won stuff, now you've run out of money and you're kind of at you could be a karter that's just won the world title but you've got no money or done something big there. You could have just been a very consistent race winner in F4 and you've run out of money. If they see potential in you and you've proven to them that you're worthy, they will actually foot the whole bill. If they think you've really got what it takes, they'll invest all the money you need to go racing. However, most junior programs will only put half in, only. That's quite a lot. They'll put half the money in, or 40% or 30% of the money, especially if they think that, they want to hedge their bets. They don't want to put all the money in and then you just waste it on you. You've got to give them confidence that you've got that skill and talent. But just know the spread is quite wide. So each driver has a different path to F1. Even though you got the 4.8 price tag on it, which can easily double if you're doing more years, multiple years in these championships, there's ways of bringing it down. And there's people out there that if you prove, you get to a certain level and you prove that you got the speed, they will pay for you or partially for the racing. So all in all, that's how much it costs to get to F1, and that's how to bring the price down and how it all works. I hope this helps. See you next time.